Migilum, he, a widowed and powerful tycoon, but lonely and emotionally withdrawn, needs a nanny for his sensitive daughter. She, a kind-hearted young woman, but haunted by a secret and deep guilt. With her sweetness, Letitia wins over Sophia, and Gabriel notices the light she brings into his home. Feeling drawn to her authenticity, love grows between them, but the weight of Letitia's secret prevents her from fully embracing happiness. In a crucial moment, she hesitates, guilt consumes her, and his love seems rejected. Watch this story to the end. You will be surprised by this story. If you like stories of love, romance, subscribe to this channel, leave your comment. Every day we post videos like this. Continuing. Leticia Santos watched through the bus window. The mansions parading along Park Avenue in the Hamptons, each more imposing than the last. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched the crumpled piece of paper with the address scribbled on it. 28 years old, with a degree in early childhood education, 3 jobs lost in the last year. Not due to incompetence, but because the families always found out. The past haunted her like a shadow she could never leave behind. Her cell phone vibrated with a message from her sister. "Did you get the job? Mom asked if you'll be able to help with the rent this month." Letitia closed her eyes. The debt from her father's medical treatment still weighed on the family, even 2 years after his death. Every penny saved went towards paying off that seemingly endless debt. "Please, let this one work out," she murmured, getting off the bus, in front of the imposing gates of the Bennett mansion. On the 30th floor of the Bennett Tech corporate building, Gabriel adjusted his tie for the 3rd time that morning. Board meetings always made him tense, especially when the subject was his personal life. At 38, a widower for 4 years, CEO of one of the largest tech conglomerates in the country, Gabriel Bennett was considered one of New York's most eligible bachelors. A fact that his mother-in-law, Martha, didn't let him forget. Gabriel, "Oh dear," her voice echoed in his ears even hours after their morning phone call. "Sophia needs a mother figure, and you need to move on. Camilla isn't coming back." His wife's name still hurt like a wound that refused to heal. Camilla had died in a car accident when Sophia was only 2 years old. Since then, Gabriel had devoted himself completely to work and his daughter, building walls around his heart that not even he knew how to tear down. His assistant entered the office. "Mr. Bennett, the nanny candidate has arrived. She's the last interview of the day." Gabriel sighed. It was the 10th candidate in 2 weeks. The others had been dismissed by Sophia, who had a knack for making any adult run away in a matter of minutes. His daughter, as sweet as she was tempestuous, had inherited her mother's stubbornness and his sharp intelligence. At 6 years old, Sophia Bennett already knew exactly what she wanted, and what she didn't want was a stranger taking care of her. "Send her up," Gabriel said, mentally preparing himself for another frustrating interview. Letitia was led through corridors that looked more like art galleries, with expensive paintings adorning the walls and an almost solemn silence. The mansion was a world apart, where every detail screamed opulence and power. She felt completely out of place there, like an intruder in a museum. "Mr. Bennett will see you in the office," informed the housekeeper, a middle-aged woman with a stern expression. "And afterwards, you'll talk to Miss Sophia." The office was spacious, with a panoramic view of the city. Behind a massive mahogany desk, a man with dark hair and piercing eyes analyzed her with the same intensity with which he probably studied financial reports. Gabriel Bennett was even more imposing in person than in the photos in business magazines. "Ms. Santos," he said, gesturing for her to sit down. "I'll be direct. My daughter isn't an easy child. She's dismissed 9 candidates before you. Do you have any experience with difficult children?" The question hit Letitia like a well-aimed arrow. Experience with difficult children? She had a daughter. She had lost a daughter, but that wasn't on her resume. It couldn't be. I have experience with children who are going through complicated times, she replied, choosing her words carefully. I believe that every child has their reasons for acting a certain way. Sometimes they just need someone who really listens to them. Gabriel observed her for a long moment. There was something in that woman's eyes, a depth that spoke of pain, known and overcome, or almost overcome. Before he could ask the next question, the office door burst open. "Daddy, Mrs. Davison said there was another lady here," announced Sophia, entering the office in a pink dress and the determination of someone who already knew exactly what she was going to find. "I already told all the others that I don't need a nanny. I already know how to take care of myself." The girl's eyes met Letitia's, and something strange happened. Instead of the immediate hostility she usually displayed, Sophia stopped in the middle of her sentence, tilting her head to the side like a curious bird. Letitia crouched down to be at the girl's eye level. "Hi, Sophia. I'm Letitia. You're right. You seem very smart and independent. But sometimes even the smartest people in the world need someone to talk to or to help with boring things, like cleaning up the room or doing homework. Don't you think?" Sophia studied her with those dark eyes, inherited from her father. "Are you not going to try to turn me into a little doll and talk in a baby voice like the others?" "Never," Letitia replied, serious. "I always talk to people the way they deserve to be treated, and you clearly deserve to be treated like a very intelligent person." Gabriel watched the interaction with growing surprise. It was the first time in months that he had seen Sophia genuinely interested in a conversation with a stranger. "Daddy," Sophia turned to him, "can I show Letitia my drawings?" It was then that the phone rang. Gabriel answered, and his expression changed drastically. "What do you mean, problems at the Stamford factory? How many injured?" He covered the microphone. "Sorry, this is an emergency. Sophia, take Ms. Santos to see your drawings. I need to deal with this immediately." Sophia took Letitia's hand with surprising naturalness. "Come on, I have a room just for drawing. Daddy said I can paint on the walls if I want to." As they walked down the hallways, Gabriel watched them through the glass window of the office. His daughter was smiling, a genuine smile he hadn't seen in months. And the young woman beside him seemed to radiate a soft light that was noticeable even from afar. Without realizing it, the incident at the factory that had forced him to rush out had created exactly what he hadn't expected. A natural and unguarded moment between his daughter and the potential new nanny. A moment that would change everything. 3 weeks later, the morning routine at the Bennett mansion had completely transformed. Sophia woke up with genuine smiles for the first time in months, running through the hallways looking for Letitia. The young nanny had achieved something that seemed impossible, bringing back the cheerful child that Gabriel thought he had lost forever, along with Camilla. "Aunt Letty, are you going to teach me how to make those sweet rolls today?" Sophia asked, skipping into the kitchen as Letitia prepared breakfast. The girl had quickly adopted the affectionate nickname, something that made Letitia's heart ache in a painful and beautiful way at the same time. "Of course, sweetie, but first you need to eat your breakfast and get ready for school," Letitia replied, pouring fresh orange juice into the girl's favorite cup, the one with butterfly drawings that Camilla had bought years ago. Gabriel came down for breakfast, observing the scene with a mixture of gratitude and something more dangerous that he preferred not to name. Letitia was wearing a simple light blue dress that highlighted her almond-shaped eyes, and there was something in the way she moved through the kitchen with familiarity and genuine affection that made the mansion finally feel like a home again. "Good morning, Mr. Bennett," Letitia said, serving him coffee without him having to ask. She had quickly memorized all the family's little habits. Gabriel liked his coffee strong and black, preferred toast with strawberry jam, and always read financial reports during breakfast. Leticia, he corrected gently, as he did every morning. Please, call me Gabriel. The simple request created an intimacy that made both of them uncomfortable. Gabriel, because he couldn't remember the last time he had desired closeness with someone. Leticia, because every demonstration of his kindness made her feel even more guilty about the secret she carried. Daddy, Letty is going to stay with us forever, right? Sophia asked, smearing herself with jam. She promised to teach me how to plant flowers in the garden just like Mommy used to do. The silence that followed was tense. Gabriel swallowed hard and Leticia lowered her eyes. Talking about Camilla was still dangerous territory in that house. Your mother was very good with plants, Gabriel said finally, his voice hoarser than usual. I'm sure she would be happy knowing that you want to learn. Leticia observed him over her coffee cup. There was a vulnerability in that powerful man that touched her deeply. Gabriel Bennett, who commanded meetings with hundreds of executives, who made decisions that moved millions of dollars, completely disarmed himself when he talked about his deceased wife. I would love to teach Sophia about gardens, Leticia said softly. My grandmother always said that plants grow best when they are cared for with love. The moment was interrupted by the arrival of Martha Resende, Gabriel's mother-in-law. The woman entered the kitchen without knocking, as she always did, wearing an elegant outfit that cost more than Leticia's annual salary. Gabriel, dear, said Martha, kissing her son-in-law on the cheek. Sophia, my beautiful granddaughter. Then her eyes landed on Leticia with a coldness that made the temperature of the kitchen drop a few degrees. Ah, you must be the new employee. The word employee was pronounced with a subtle contempt that did not go unnoticed by anyone. Gabriel frowned, but before he could speak, Martha continued. I hope this time it lasts longer than the others. Sophia needs stability, not people who appear and disappear from her life. The implicit message was clear. You don't belong here. Grandma Martha. Sophia ran to hug her grandmother, partially relieving the tension. Gabriel, I need to talk to you about the charity gala this Friday, said Martha, completely ignoring Leticia. Patricia Beaumont will be there. Remember her? The Beaumont's daughter, a graduate of Wellesley, a woman from a good family, very suitable for... Martha, Gabriel interrupted, his voice laden with a warning. This isn't the time. But the damage was done. Leticia felt as if she'd been punched in the stomach. Of course, there would be other women. Women from Gabriel's social circle, graduates of the best universities, without dark pasts or shameful secrets. Women suitable for a man like him. I'll take Sophia to school, Leticia said quickly, getting up from the table. Come on, sweetie. Grab your backpack. Gabriel watched her leave, noticing the sudden change in her behavior. The spontaneity had disappeared, replaced by a distant politeness that he recognized from the other nannies. Later that night, after putting Sophia to sleep, Leticia walked through the mansion's garden, trying to calm her thoughts. The morning's conversation had made her position in that house clear. She was a temporary employee, while Gabriel needed to find a suitable wife. Are you all right? Gabriel's deep voice startled her. He approached along the stones of the path, having exchanged his suit for jeans and a casual shirt that made him look younger, more approachable. Yes, sir. Gabriel, she corrected herself. Quickly, I was just getting some air. He stopped beside her, both looking at the stars. I'm sorry for Martha's behavior this morning. She sometimes forgets that boundaries exist. She's just protecting your family, Leticia said, trying to keep her voice neutral. It's understandable. Is it? Gabriel turned to face her. Because it seemed like unnecessary rudeness to me. His proximity was disturbing. Letitia could smell the subtle cologne he wore, see how the moonlight accentuated his striking features. He was a dangerously attractive man, and she was starting to develop feelings that she couldn't allow herself to have. "Maybe it's better if I look for another job," she said impulsively. "Sophia is already adapting well, and you will certainly find someone more what?" Gabriel's voice had a harshness that made her look at him. "More suitable, more from our social class, more appropriate for your situation," she said carefully. Gabriel took a step closer, his dark eyes fixed on hers. "And what situation would that be, Letitia?" Her name on Gabriel's lips sounded like a caress. Letitia felt her heart race dangerously. "A man like you needs someone who matches your world," she whispered. "And I'm not that person." "Why not?" The simple question carried an immense weight. Because she had a past that would destroy his reputation. Because she had lied about who she really was. Because she was falling in love with a man who deserved so much more than she could offer. "Because I can't," she repeated, taking a step back. But Gabriel wouldn't let her run. He gently held her arm, and the touch sent waves of heat throughout her body. "Sophia hadn't smiled in months before you arrived," he said, his voice low and intense. "This house was dead, and you brought it back to life. How could that not be suitable for me?" Gabriel's phone rang at that moment, breaking the spell. He answered with visible irritation. "Gabriel Bennett, what? When did this happen?" His expression changed drastically. "I need to get to the office immediately. Yes, now." He hung up and turned to Letitia, frustration and something else burning in his eyes. "There's a company crisis I need to deal with tonight, but our conversation isn't over, Letitia, far from it." And with those words, he left, leaving her alone in the garden, with her heart racing and the terrible certainty that she was falling in love with the wrong man for the most right reasons. The next day, everything would change when a phone call brought Letitia's past back to haunt her, forcing her to confront the truth she had desperately tried to leave behind. The next morning brought an unexpected storm to the Hamptons, and with it, a shift in the dynamics of the Bennett mansion. Gabriel had spent the entire night at the office resolving the corporate crisis, and when he returned, he found Letitia and Sophia baking cookies in the kitchen, their laughter echoing through the hallways that had long been deprived of such joyful sounds. "Daddy!" Sophia ran to hug him, leaving trails of flour across the marble floor. "Aunt Letty taught me how to make butterfly-shaped cookies, just like Mommy used to make." Gabriel felt his chest tighten. Camilla used to bake butterfly cookies with Sophia on rainy Sundays. It was a tradition that had died along with her. Letitia noticed the change in his expression and quickly approached. "I'm sorry, I didn't know it was something special. Sophia mentioned that her mom made cookies, and I thought that—" "No," Gabriel interrupted, his voice softer than expected. "It's okay. Actually, it's good to see that tradition coming back to life." Their eyes met over Sophia's head, and something passed between them, a silent acknowledgement that they both carried deep losses. Letitia looked away first, returning to the cookies with slightly trembling hands. "Mr. Bennett," said Mrs. Davison, the housekeeper, appearing in the kitchen doorway. "Your mother-in-law is here and would like to speak with you. She said it's urgent." Gabriel sighed. Since Camilla's death, Martha had become even more controlling, as if trying to compensate for the loss of her daughter by interfering in his and Sophia's lives. "Tell her I'm coming." He turned to Letitia. "Can you watch Sophia while I take care of this?" "Of course," she replied, but Gabriel noticed the tension in her voice. Martha's presence always made Letitia visibly uncomfortable. In the office, Martha was waiting for him with a folder of documents and a determined expression that he knew well. "Gabriel, dear, we need to talk about Letitia Santos." Gabriel's stomach tightened. "What about her?" I had a discreet investigation done into her past. Martha opened the folder revealing photos and documents, and I found some inconsistencies. Gabriel felt a surge of anger. You did what? Calm down, it was just a basic background check. But look what we discovered. She pointed to a birth certificate. Leticia Santos was born in Poughkeepsie, not in New York City, as she said in the interview. And there's a 2-year period in her life that simply disappeared. No registered employment, no fixed address. So what? Gabriel tried to keep his voice controlled, but he felt his heart racing. So what that people with gaps in their past usually have reasons to hide them? Martha leaned forward. Gabriel, you have a young daughter and a reputation to uphold. You can't just trust anyone who shows up. At that moment, a gentle knock on the door interrupted them. Mrs. Davison entered with an apologetic air. Sorry to interrupt, but Miss Sophia is asking if she can show her new drawings to her grandmother. Martha smiled, quickly closing the folder. Of course, my little granddaughter. Tell her I'm coming right away. When they were alone, Gabriel stared at the closed folder. I want you to stop these investigations, Martha. Gabriel, no. His voice cut through the air like a blade. Leticia is the best thing that's happened to Sophia in months. I'm not going to let you destroy that with your paranoia. Martha stood up, smoothing her skirt. Very well, but when you find out who she really is, remember that I tried to protect you. After his mother-in-law left, Gabriel remained alone in the office, staring at the folder she had forgotten on the table. His hands trembled slightly when he opened it. The information was scarce, but enough to plant seeds of doubt. The 2 years missing from Leticia's resume, the false address, and a photo of her entering a medical clinic in Poughkeepsie 3 years ago. Across the house, Leticia was helping Sophia organize her drawings when her cell phone vibrated. It was an unknown number, but when she answered, she immediately recognized the voice on the other end of the line. Leticia, it's me, Dr. Henrique. Her blood ran cold. Dr. Henrique Moreira had been her doctor in Poughkeepsie during the worst months of her life. Doctor, how did you get my number? Your sister gave it to me. Leticia, I need to speak with you urgently. It's about, well, you know what about. Sophia looked at her curiously. Aunt Letty, are you okay? You've turned pale. Leticia forced a smile. I'm fine, sweetie. Just a phone call from the doctor. How about you go play in your room while I finish talking? When Sophia left, Leticia whispered into the phone, Doctor, I told you I don't want to talk about this anymore. That chapter of my life is over. Leticia, a mistake was found in the tests from that time. A serious mistake. I need you to come to Poughkeepsie so we can talk in person. What kind of mistake? I can't discuss this over the phone, but it's important. Very important. The call ended, leaving Leticia with trembling hands and a racing heart. She sat heavily on the chair in Sophia's room, surrounded by the girls' colorful drawings, and felt as if the past was finally coming to claim her. Later that night, after putting Sophia to sleep, Leticia found Gabriel in the library. He was sitting in a leather armchair, a glass of whiskey in his hand, and a distant look in his eyes. Gabriel, is everything okay? He looked up at her, and Leticia saw something different there, a distrust that hadn't existed before. I should be asking you that, he said, his voice strangely formal. After all, it seems there are many things about Leticia Santos that I don't know. Her heart stopped. What are you talking about? Gabriel stood up, walking to the window. Poughkeepsie is a beautiful city, isn't it? Too bad you never mentioned you were born there. Leticia felt the ground collapse beneath her feet. Gabriel, I can explain. Can you? He turned to face her. Then explain the 2 years that disappeared from your life. Explain why you lied about where you were born. Explain why someone who was supposed to be just a nanny is making my daughter smile for the first time in months, is making me feel alive. Again, is making this house feel like a home. The raw confession in his voice left her speechless. Gabriel continued, approaching her. Explain why, when I look at you, I feel like I can finally breathe again. Why, when you're near, I can't think of anything else. And explain why I have the feeling that you're hiding something that could destroy all of this. Letitia closed her eyes, feeling tears burn behind her eyelids. Gabriel, I've fallen in love with you, he said simply, the words falling like bombs in the silence of the library. And I have no idea who you really are. Letitia's phone vibrated again at that moment. A text message from an unknown number. Letitia, it's Helena, your former colleague from the hospital in Poughkeepsie. I need to speak with you urgently about Maria Fernanda. Someone is asking questions about you in town. Gabriel noticed the change in her expression. Who is it? Letitia looked at him, at that man who had just confessed his feelings, knowing that soon everything would crumble. The past had finally found her, and there was no way to escape. Gabriel, she whispered, there are things about me that will change everything between us. Then tell me, he said, taking a step closer. Tell me everything. Let me decide what changes or not. But before she could answer, they heard Sophia screaming from upstairs. Daddy! Aunt Letty! There's someone at my bedroom window! They both ran upstairs, finding Sophia crying and pointing at the window. Outside, in the shadows of the garden, a figure moved quickly, disappearing among the trees. Gabriel picked Sophia up in his arms while checking if the window was locked. It must have just been an animal princess. But Letitia knew it wasn't. Someone had come looking for her. The past had finally knocked on her door, and there was no way to protect Gabriel and Sophia from what was to come. That night, she stayed awake watching the window, knowing that her borrowed happiness was about to come to an end. The day dawned with an unexpected urgency. Sophia woke up with a high fever and difficulty breathing, turning the peaceful morning into a whirlwind of worry. Gabriel cancelled all his meetings while Letitia ran around the house preparing cold compresses and medications, her trembling hands revealing an experience that went beyond the common care of a nanny. Her temperature is rising too fast, said Letitia, checking the thermometer for the third time in 15 minutes. We need to take her to the hospital now. Gabriel watched how she handled the situation with an almost medical competence, checking Sophia's breathing, positioning her correctly, making precise notes of the symptoms. There was something in her movements that spoke of deep knowledge, not just maternal instinct. How do you know so much about this? He asked as he carried Sophia to the car. Letitia hesitated for a second. I worked in hospitals before. On the way to New York Presbyterian Hospital, Sophia burned with fever in Letitia's lap, who hummed softly lullabies that seemed to calm her instantly. Gabriel drove at the maximum speed limit, but his eyes were divided between his daughter and the woman who cared for her so lovingly. She's going to be okay, whispered Letitia, more to herself than to him. She's going to be okay. In the emergency room, Sophia was immediately admitted with suspected pneumonia. While they waited in the waiting room, Gabriel noticed how Letitia knew every procedure, how she spoke to the doctors using precise technical terminology, how she moved through the hospital hallways with disconcerting familiarity. Letitia, he said when they were finally alone, I need you to be honest with me. Are you a doctor? She closed her eyes, leaning her head against the cold wall of the hallway. I was, for 2 years. What happened? Before she could answer, Dr. Carvalho, the pediatrician in charge of Sophia, approached. Mr. Bennett, Your daughter is stabilized, but she will need to be hospitalized for a few days. And I must say, the young lady here," he gestured to Letitia, "took all the right steps. Her quick reaction probably prevented more serious complications." When the doctor walked away, Gabriel stared at her intensely. "You saved my daughter." Anyone would have done the same. "No," he said firmly. "Anyone wouldn't have known how to recognize the signs of childhood pneumonia, wouldn't have known how to position a child to facilitate breathing, wouldn't have known exactly what information to give the doctor." He held her hands. "Why did you stop practicing medicine?" Letitia felt the tears burning. "Because I made a mistake that cost a life." At that moment, Gabriel's cell phone rang. It was Mrs. Davison, the housekeeper, with a changed voice. "Mr. Bennett, there's a woman here at the house saying she needs to speak with Miss Letitia urgently. She said it's about a Maria Fernanda." Letitia turned completely pale. Gabriel noticed her reaction and spoke on the phone. "Mrs. Davison, tell her that we are not home and do not know when we will return." When he hung up, Letitia looked at him with tear-filled eyes. "Gabriel, you don't understand. Then make me understand." He pulled her into an empty consultation room. "Sophia is sleeping. The doctor said she will be fine. Now it's time for you to tell me the truth." Letitia took a deep breath, knowing that there was no way to escape. "Maria Fernanda was my patient in Poughkeepsie, a 5-year-old girl with leukemia." Her voice began to falter. "I was young, recently graduated, working in a private clinic. Her parents couldn't afford to pay for the full treatment in New York City, so they decided to treat her in town." Gabriel sat beside her, feeling that he was about to hear something that would change everything. She was responding well to the treatment, but one Sunday morning I received a call. Maria Fernanda had gotten sick again. I should have transferred her immediately to a larger hospital, but... Letitia sobbed. "But I thought I could control the situation. I thought it was just a normal reaction to the medication." "What happened?" "She died in my arms while we waited for the ambulance that took 2 hours to arrive." Letitia covered her face with her hands. "If I had made the right decision, if I had been more experienced, if I hadn't been so arrogant in thinking I could save everyone..." Gabriel felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. The pain in Letitia's voice was so raw that he recognized it. It was the same pain he felt when he thought about Camilla's death, the argument they had, the feeling that he could have prevented everything. "Did the parents sue you?" "No. They knew that I had done what I could within the limitations of the clinic, but that didn't matter." She stared at him with red eyes. "A child died because I wasn't good enough, because I made the wrong decision." Gabriel reached out and touched her face gently. "You were a young doctor in a clinic without adequate resources. It wasn't your fault." "Yes, it was!" Letitia stood up abruptly. "And that's why I can't be here. That's why I can't be near Sophia. That's why..." Her voice broke completely. "That's..." "Why what?" "That's why I don't deserve to be loved by someone like you." The silence that followed was filled only by the distant sound of the hospital's medical equipment. Gabriel stood up and walked to her, who was facing away, her shoulders trembling. "Do you know what the worst day of my life was?" he said quietly. "The day I argued with Camilla before she left the house. I said horrible things. I let her leave, furious. 2 hours later, I received the call from the hospital." He took a deep breath. "I spent 3 years blaming myself for that accident, thinking that if I hadn't fought with her, if I had been a better husband, she would still be alive." Letitia turned to face him, tears running freely. "But do you know what I've learned, watching you with Sophia over the past few weeks?" Gabriel took a step closer. "I've learned that sometimes the people who carry the most pain are precisely those who love with the most intensity. You didn't give up medicine because you were a coward. You gave up because that girl's death almost destroyed you. And that tells me exactly what kind of person you are. Gabriel, you saved my daughter today, and it wasn't the first time. You've saved us all since the first day you got here. He held her face between his hands. I love you. Not the perfect Nanny, without a past, but you, the woman who carries her scars like I carry mine. At that moment, something fundamental changed between them. Letitia allowed herself to be completely vulnerable, and Gabriel kissed her with all the intensity of someone who had found not only love, but redemption. When they separated, breathless, Letitia whispered, "The woman who went looking for you at home. She's probably Maria Fernanda's mother. They look for me from time to time." "For what?" "To forgive me," she said, her voice full of bitter irony. "Which makes everything even worse." Gabriel pulled her into his arms. "Then it's time for you to forgive yourself too." But as they hugged in the silent hospital hallway, neither of them knew that Martha Almeida was at that very moment talking to Helena Moreira, Letitia's former colleague, discovering details about the young woman's medical past that would drastically change the game. The storm that was approaching would be much bigger than either of them imagined. Sophia remained hospitalized for 4 days, and during that period, Gabriel and Letitia took turns at the girl's bedside. The intimacy forced by the shared care of the child created a bubble of closeness that neither of them could deny anymore. Small gestures, their hands touching when they adjusted Sophia's blanket, prolonged looks over the girl's sleeping head, comforting whispers in the silence of the early morning, spoke of a love that had been born from the ashes of their individual pains. On the last night in the hospital, after Sophia finally fell asleep without a fever, Gabriel found Letitia dozing in the uncomfortable armchair in the room. She had insisted on taking the night shift, and her brown hair fell softly over her face, her relaxed features revealing a natural beauty that took his breath away. "Letitia," he whispered, gently touching her shoulder. She woke up immediately, alert. "Is Sophia okay?" "She's sleeping soundly. You should go home and rest." "No," she said, rubbing her eyes. "I want to stay here in case she needs something." Gabriel sat on the edge of the armchair, so close that he could feel the warmth of her body. "You've been amazing these days. I don't know how I would have handled all this alone." "You weren't alone," she replied softly. "You never will be." The promise implicit in those words made them look into each other's eyes with a burning intensity. Gabriel tilted his head, and Letitia didn't pull away when their lips met in a lingering kiss, full of all the tension accumulated in recent days. When they separated, breathing heavily, Gabriel rested his forehead on hers. "I love you, Letitia, no matter what comes next." "I love you too," she whispered, the words coming out like a painful confession. "But I'm afraid of what it means." "It means we're a family," he said, looking at the sleeping Sophia, "the three of us." Neither of them noticed the nurse who had witnessed the scene through the ajar door, nor did they imagine that she would take a discreet photo with her cell phone before quietly walking away down the hall. The next day, when they returned, home with Sophia completely recovered, the atmosphere at the Bennett mansion had changed drastically. Mrs. Davison greeted them at the door with a worried expression. "Mr. Bennett, your mother-in-law has been here several times during these days. She left some documents in your office and said it was urgent." Gabriel frowned. "What kind of documents?" "I don't know, sir. But she brought a woman with her yesterday. They said it was about family matters." Letitia felt a chill run down her spine. "Mrs. Davison, what did this woman look like?" "Older, grey hair, very elegant. She seemed nervous, as if she was bringing bad news." Letitia's heart pounded. The description matched perfectly with Yolanda Moreira, Maria Fernanda's mother. While Sophia ran to her room to play with the toys she had missed, Gabriel and Letitia headed to the office. On the table, they found a thick folder with the name Leticia Santos written in capital letters. Gabriel opened it with trembling hands. Inside were medical documents, newspaper clippings, photos, and private investigation reports. The headline of the main clipping made them both pale. Young doctor involved in controversial death of child in Poughkeepsie. "Oh my God," Gabriel murmured, flipping through the papers. There were photos of Leticia entering and leaving the clinic, testimonies from colleagues, and even a photo of the Moreira family at Maria Fernanda's funeral. On the last page, they found a handwritten letter. "Gabriel, I hope that when you read this, you understand that everything I've done was to protect you and Sophia. Leticia Santos is not who she says she is. She is a doctor who caused the death of a child through medical negligence. The victim's parents contacted me when they discovered that she was working in your home. Yolanda Moreira, Maria Fernanda's mother, is willing to make the case public if Leticia doesn't leave your family immediately. She considers it an insult that the woman responsible for her daughter's death is now taking care of another child. You have 48 hours to dismiss her, or the story will be given to the press. Think about Sophia, think about your reputation, think about the scandal that this will cause. With love and concern, Martha." The silence in the office was deafening. Leticia's face was completely pale, her hands trembling violently. "It's blackmail," Gabriel said, his voice hard with anger. "Pure and simple blackmail." "No, Gabriel." Leticia stood up, walking to the window. "It's the truth. Everything there is correct. The truth about a medical accident that you've already told me about. The truth about a complex situation that wasn't your fault. Do you think the press will see it that way?" Leticia turned to face him, tears glistening in her eyes. "Do you think the partners in your company, the parents at Sophia's school, the elite of New York, will understand the nuances of a medical error? They'll only see the headlines. CEO of Bennett Tech involved with doctor responsible for child's death." Gabriel slammed his fist on the table. "Then let them see. I don't care about their opinion." "You should care," Leticia shouted, her composure finally shattering. "Sophia will grow up with this stigma. Other children will whisper about her in the school hallways. Your business may be affected, all because you fell in love with the wrong person." "You're not the wrong person." "Yes, I am." She picked up the folder and held it against her chest. "I'm exactly the wrong person for you." At that moment, the house phone rang. Mrs. Davison answered and, seconds later, appeared in the office doorway. "Mr. Bennett, it's Mrs. Almeida. She said she needs to speak with you immediately." Gabriel answered the phone with visible anger. "Martha, what the hell do you think you're doing?" His mother-in-law's voice on the other end was cold and calculating. "Protecting my granddaughter and you from a situation that could destroy everything Camilla helped you build. You have no right." "I have every right as Sophia's grandmother. And as Camilla's mother, I have the right not to see her memory tarnished by a scandal." Martha paused. "Yolanda Moreira is with me now, Gabriel. She brought an investigative journalist from Poughkeepsie. They have a complete story ready to be published." Leticia could hear every word through the speakerphone, and her face became paler with each second. "What do you want?" Gabriel asked, his voice dangerously low. "For Leticia to leave your house tonight. If she leaves quietly, the story will never be published. If she stays..." The threat hung in the air. "And if I refuse to dismiss her? Then tomorrow morning all of New York will know that Gabriel Bennett is romantically involved with a doctor who killed a child, with photos of your kiss in the hospital to prove it." Gabriel's blood ran cold. "How do you..." "I have my resources, and I won't hesitate to use them to protect Sophia." Martha hung up, leaving only the sound of deadly silence in the office. Letitia was leaning against the wall, slowly sliding to the floor. "They have pictures of us," she whispered, "from the hospital." Gabriel knelt beside her. "It doesn't matter. We'll fight this." "With what weapons, Gabriel?" She stared at him with desperate eyes. "They have the truth on their side. A child really died because of me. I really lied about my past. And we really kissed while your daughter was hospitalized. And what's wrong with that? Everything!" She stood up abruptly. "Everything is wrong. I should have left the moment I started to feel something for you. I should have protected you. And Sophia from me," Gabriel held her by the shoulders, "you're not a danger to us. You're the best thing that's happened to us." "No, Gabriel." Letitia gently freed herself from his hands. "I'm exactly what Martha said I was from the beginning, a threat to your family." At that moment, Sophia appeared in the office doorway, still pale from her recent illness. "Why are you shouting?" she asked, her big eyes moving between her father and Letitia. "Is Aunt Letty going away like the other nannies?" Gabriel's heart broke, seeing the fear in his daughter's eyes. Letitia knelt beside Sophia, trying to smile through her tears. "Sometimes, sweetie, people need to make difficult choices to protect those they love." "But I don't want you to go," Sophia said, throwing herself into Letitia's arms. "You remind me of Mommy when she sang to me. It was the last straw." Letitia hugged Sophia tightly, knowing that this might be the last hug they would give each other. "I don't want to go either," she whispered, her tears wetting the girl's hair. "But sometimes love means making sacrifices to protect those we love." Gabriel watched the scene, feeling completely helpless. In less than 24 hours, the happiness they had built was being systematically destroyed by people who claimed to act out of love. And worst of all, he was beginning to suspect that maybe Letitia was right. Maybe love, however true it was, wasn't always enough to overcome the consequences of the past. The morning arrived with an unusual coldness for the Hamptons. Letitia had spent the entire night packing her few belongings, each piece of clothing folded with the care of someone who was saying goodbye, not only to objects, but to dreams. Sophia had slept in her bed, clinging to her as if she could prevent her departure only with the strength of her childish embrace. Gabriel hadn't slept a wink. He spent the hours in the library, alternating between phone calls to lawyers and sessions of solitary drinking, trying to find a legal way out of the impasse that Martha had created. But with each call, the reality became crueler. There was no way to fight the truth, even when that truth was being distorted for malicious purposes. At 7 in the morning, the phone rang. It was Ricardo Mendez, his personal lawyer. "Gabriel, I have bad news. The journalist from Poughkeepsie has already delivered the story to 3 different outlets. The story will be published this afternoon, regardless of what Letitia does." Gabriel felt his stomach drop. "What do you mean?" "Yolanda Moreira changed her mind overnight. She said that after thinking it over, she can't accept that the woman she considers responsible for her daughter's death is playing happy family while her child is dead." "But Martha said—" "Martha was deceived, Gabriel. Or maybe she underestimated this woman's thirst for revenge. Anyway, the damage is done." Gabriel hung up the phone, feeling completely defeated. He walked upstairs slowly, finding Letitia in the guest room, sitting on the edge of the bed with a small suitcase beside her. "The articles are coming out this afternoon," he said, without preamble. Letitia closed her eyes, the tears that she had tried to contain all night finally escaping. "So it doesn't matter anymore whether I stay or if I leave. It matters to me. Does it matter to Sophia?" She stared at him with red eyes. When her schoolmates start whispering, when the other parents no longer let their children play with her, when your professional reputation is shattered, Will it still matter? Gabriel didn't know what to answer because, deep down, he knew she was right. The sound of small footsteps in the hallway alerted them to Sophia's arrival. The girl entered the room still in her pajamas, her hair tousled from sleep, but her eyes already filled with a premature understanding. "Aunt Letty is leaving today, right, Daddy?" Gabriel knelt beside his daughter. "Sophia, sometimes things get complicated for adults. Because of the bad people who don't like Aunt Letty." The innocent question hit both of them like a punch. How to explain to a 6-year-old that the world could be cruel to people who carried scars from the past? Letitia crouched down to be at Sophia's eye level. "Remember when you had pneumonia, and the doctor said that sometimes the medicine hurts a little before it heals?" Sophia nodded. "Sometimes in the lives of adults, some people need to leave so that other people don't feel any more pain, even when it hurts a lot." "But I don't want you to feel pain, Aunt Letty," said Sophia, throwing herself into her arms. "And I don't want Daddy to feel pain either." Gabriel watched the two of them hugging and felt as if his heart was being ripped out of his chest. At that moment, he understood that love sometimes required sacrifices that were greater than his own happiness. The house intercom rang insistently, interrupting the moment. Mrs. Davison ran up the stairs. "Mr. Bennett, there are journalists at the door. Many journalists, and they're asking questions about Miss Letitia." It was as if a bomb had exploded in the morning tranquility. Gabriel ran to the window and saw at least 6 news cars parked in front of the gates, reporters with cameras and microphones awaiting any movement. "How did they find out the address?" murmured Letitia, but the answer came in the form of a call on Gabriel's cell phone. "Hello?" he answered in a hard voice. "Gabriel, it's me, Martha." His mother-in-law's voice was visibly shaken. I didn't expect it to get to this point. Where are you?" "At the hotel with Yolanda. She called the press during the night. She said she wanted everyone to know what kind of person is taking care of Sophia." Gabriel closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the betrayal of his own family. "You did this, Martha. You allowed it to get to this point. I just wanted to protect you. You destroyed our family." The phone was hung up violently, but the damage was done. Downstairs, the journalists were stirring like vultures, waiting for carrion. Letitia picked up her suitcase with trembling hands. "I need to leave now, before this gets worse." "How?" Gabriel pointed to the window. "They're waiting for exactly that. Then I'll give them what they want." Letitia took a deep breath, in a decision that seemed to suck all the life out of her. "I'm going to make a statement taking full responsibility and making it clear that you and Sophia are innocent victims in this situation." "No," Gabriel held her by the arm. "I'm not going to let you sacrifice yourself like that." "It's not sacrifice, Gabriel. It's consequence." She touched his face gently. "I knew this day would come since I lied in the first interview. I knew that the past would eventually catch up with me." Sophia began to cry, clinging to Letitia's skirt. "Don't go, Aunt Letty. Please." Letitia knelt down one last time, hugging the girl tightly. "You are the most special child I have ever known, Sophia Bennett, and I want you to always remember that your daddy loves you more than anything in the world. But what about you? Don't you love me? I love you so much, that I'm leaving so you can be happy without the bad people saying bad things about your family." Gabriel watched that farewell feeling completely helpless. Letitia stood up, picked up her suitcase, and walked towards the bedroom door. "Letitia," he called, his voice hoarse with emotion. She stopped without turning around. "I love you. That will never change." "I love you too," she whispered. "That's why I'm leaving." In the 15 minutes that followed, Gabriel watched from the window as Letitia descended the stairs of the mansion's main entrance, faced the crowd of journalists alone, gave a short statement taking full responsibility for what had happened, and asking them to respect the privacy of the Bennett family, and then got into a taxi that took her away from their lives. Sophia cried in her father's arms as they watched the car disappear around the corner of the street. The journalists gradually dispersed, taking with them the story that would destroy Letitia's reputation once and for all. That afternoon, the headlines dominated all the news portals. Doctor Who caused child's death, worked as nanny for tycoon. The dark past of Gabriel Bennett's nanny. Scandal. CEO romantically involved with woman responsible for child's death. Gabriel turned off all the electronic devices in the house and locked himself with Sophia in her room, trying to protect her from the bombardment of information that he knew would continue for the next few days. But while lulling his daughter to sleep that first night without Letitia, Gabriel already knew that he had lost more than the woman he loved. He had lost the last chance for his family to be truly happy again. And somewhere in the city, Letitia cried alone in a cheap hotel room, watching her life being torn apart on television, knowing that love sometimes wasn't enough to overcome the consequences of the past. Everything was lost. 2 weeks had passed since Letitia left, and the Bennett mansion had become a mausoleum of heavy silences. Sophia barely ate, spending hours looking out the window of her room as if she expected to see Letitia returning. Through the main gate, Gabriel had cancelled all non-essential meetings, refusing to face the curious looks and the pitying whispers of his fellow business executives. The press had been relentless. Sensationalist articles continued to appear daily, some even suggesting that Gabriel had knowingly hired a killer doctor to take care of his daughter. Bennett Tech's stock plummeted 15% in the first week, and the board of directors was pushing for an emergency meeting. It was on a rainy Thursday morning that Gabriel received an unexpected visit. Dr. Henrique, the doctor who had treated Letitia in Poughkeepsie, appeared at the gate of the mansion asking to speak with him. "Mr. Bennett," said the grey-haired man when Gabriel received him in the library, "I came here because I can no longer sleep at night, knowing about the injustice that is being committed against Letitia Santos." Gabriel studied him carefully. "Do you know her well?" "I was her doctor during the most difficult 2 years of her life, and I can state categorically that the version of events that is circulating in the press is incomplete." Dr. Henrique opened a folder that he had brought with him. In fact, it's deliberately distorted. Gabriel's heart began to beat faster. "What do you mean by that?" "I mean that Yolanda Moreira omitted crucial information when she gave her testimony to the journalists." The doctor removed documents from the folder. Maria Fernanda didn't die due to Letitia's negligence. She died because the clinic where they worked didn't have adequate equipment for a case of acute childhood leukemia. Gabriel leaned forward. "Continue." On the day of Maria Fernanda's death, there was a terrible storm in Poughkeepsie. The telephone lines were down. The roads were flooded. Letitia tried desperately to transfer the girl to New York City, but no ambulance could reach the clinic. Dr. Henrique pointed to a medical report. She worked alone for 6 straight hours to keep Maria Fernanda alive. She performed procedures that were beyond her specialization, took enormous professional risks to try to save that child. Then why does she blame herself so much? Because Letitia had a daughter. The doctor's words fell like a bomb in the silence of the library. A girl named Isabella, only a year younger than Maria Fernanda. Gabriel felt the air leave his lungs. Isabella was in the clinic's waiting room that night, waiting for her mother to finish attending to the patient. Letitia was so focused on saving Maria Fernanda that she didn't realize that her own daughter had developed symptoms of meningitis. Dr. Henrique paused, his voice becoming more grave. When she finally looked at Isabella, it was too late. Gabriel covered his face, with his hands beginning to understand the true dimension of the tragedy that Letitia carried. She lost both girls on the same night, continued the doctor. Maria Fernanda died first in her arms after 6 hours of struggle. Isabella died 2 hours later in a hospital in New York City, where Leticia rushed her as soon as she noticed the symptoms. Why did she never tell me about her own daughter? Because the guilt she feels is double. She believes that if she had given up on Maria Fernanda earlier, she could have saved Isabella. And she believes that if she were a more attentive mother, she would have noticed her own daughter's symptoms. Dr. Henrique stood up, walking to the window. Leticia turned away from medicine and motherhood because she considers that she failed at both. Gabriel felt a wave of love and pain so intense that he could barely breathe. Where is she now? I don't know. But I know that she needs someone who believes in her, who shows her that love is sometimes stronger than guilt. The doctor turned to face him. I came here because, watching you two in the hospital when Sophia was hospitalized, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. I saw Leticia smiling genuinely. For God's sake, don't let the lies of a bitter woman destroy your chance to be happy. When Dr. Henrique left, Gabriel remained alone in the library, processing the revelations. Leticia had not only lost a patient, she had lost her own daughter on the same night. And yet, she had found the strength to love Sophia, to bring her back to life after pneumonia. That afternoon, Gabriel did something he hadn't done in weeks. He called his private investigator. Marcos, I need you to find someone for me, Leticia Santos, and I need everything you can get about the events in Poughkeepsie 3 years ago. I want medical reports, witness statements, hospital records, everything. Gabriel, said Marcos on the other end of the line, are you sure? With all this scandal in the press, especially because of the scandal in the press, I want the complete truth. While awaiting the results of the investigation, Gabriel made a decision that surprised everyone. He called an extraordinary meeting of the Bennett Tech Board of Directors. In the meeting room, before 12 serious executives, Gabriel made an announcement that left everyone speechless. Gentlemen, I know that the recent news about my personal life has caused concern. I know that some of you question my leadership ability. He paused, looking each one in the eye. I'm here to say that I maintain absolute confidence in the integrity of the woman I love, and that I intend to fight publicly to clear her name. Eduardo Santana, the oldest advisor, coughed uncomfortably. Gabriel, are you sure that this is the most strategic position for the company? I'm sure it's the most honest position, Gabriel replied. And if that means that some of you no longer trust in my leadership, I accept your resignations. The silence in the room was deafening. 2 days later, Marcos brought the information that Gabriel had requested. What he discovered left him furious and determined in equal measure. Gabriel, you're not going to believe what I found, said the investigator, spreading documents on the table. Yolanda Moreira has been filing lawsuits against 3 different doctors in the last 5 years, all for alleged medical negligence related to the treatment of children. How is that? She and her husband have turned their daughter's death into a crusade against medical professionals. They sue, they get out-of-court settlements, and then they look for the next victim. Marcos pointed to a document. In Leticia's case, they never filed a lawsuit because they knew they had no legal basis. But they kept the case in the local media to blackmail other doctors. Gabriel felt the anger growing inside him. And my mother-in-law? Your mother-in-law was approached by them a month ago. Yolanda presented herself as a grieving mother seeking justice. Martha believed the story and financed the entire blackmail operation, thinking she was protecting her family. Where is Leticia? That was harder to find out. She's working as a volunteer at a free pediatric clinic in the Bronx. Uses the name Isabella Santos, the name of her own dead daughter. Gabriel felt his heart break and mend at the same time. Even shattered, Letitia had found a way to honor her daughter's memory by helping other children. That night, after putting Sophia to sleep, Gabriel made a decision that would change everything. He called the journalist who had written the first article about the scandal. "Mr. Ferreira, this is Gabriel Bennett. I have a new story for you. A story about the truth behind the lies that were published about Letitia Santos." "Mr. Bennett, I don't know if I have documents that prove that Yolanda Moreira is a professional blackmailer. I have medical testimonies that show that Letitia Santos is a hero, not a villain. And I have a recording of my mother-in-law confessing that she was deceived." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "And what do you want in return?" "I want you to publish the truth, the whole truth, with the same intensity that you publish the lies. This will cause an even bigger scandal, Mr. Bennett." Gabriel looked out the office window, imagining Letitia alone somewhere in the city, carrying guilt that were not hers. Then let it cause one. Some battles are worth any scandal. The next morning, Gabriel woke up with a determination he hadn't felt in years. Today would be the day he would start fighting back. The day he would prove that true love would not surrender to lies, no matter how powerful they were. The war for the truth was just beginning. The cover story came out on a rainy Tuesday, occupying the front pages of 3 of New York's leading newspapers. "The truth about Letitia Santos, heroine turned into villain by blackmail," was the main headline, accompanied by photos of the medical documents that proved her innocence and revealed Yolanda Moreira's scheme. Gabriel was in the office when he received the first call from Martha. "Gabriel, for God's sake, what have you done?" His mother-in-law's voice trembled with despair. "The journalists are at my door. They say I financed a blackmail." "You financed a blackmail," Gabriel said coldly. "The difference is that now everyone knows. I thought I was protecting you. You destroyed the life of an innocent woman, destroyed the happiness of your own granddaughter." Gabriel paused, controlling his anger. "And you almost destroyed my family. What can I do to fix this? You can give a press conference this afternoon, publicly confessing how you were deceived. You can publicly apologize to Letitia, and you can hope that she is generous enough to forgive what we did to her." 2 hours later, Gabriel was driving through the narrow streets of the Bronx, looking for the pediatric clinic where Letitia worked. He found it on a dusty street between a small market and a mechanic shop. The building was simple, painted faded blue, with a small sign, "Hope Clinic, free pediatric care." Inside, he found a waiting room crowded with mothers with children. In their laps, the smell of disinfectant mixed with the sound of low conversations and crying babies. A nurse recognized him immediately. "Mr. Bennett, what are you doing here?" "I'm looking for Letitia Santos, or Isabella Santos, as she's calling herself now." The nurse hesitated. "She's seeing patients, but..." "Please," said Gabriel, his voice filled with urgency. "I need to speak with her." Letitia appeared in the hallway 10 minutes later, wearing a simple white coat, her hair tied in a ponytail without makeup. She was thinner, with deep circles under her eyes, but her eyes still had that special light that had illuminated Gabriel and Sophia's lives. When she saw him, she stopped in the middle of the hallway as if she had received a shock. "Gabriel, how did you find me? Did you read the newspapers today?" Letitia shook her head. "I haven't read newspapers in 2 weeks." Gabriel approached, slowly, pulling a copy of the article from his pocket. "Then maybe it's time to read." He watched as she read, seeing her expressions change from confusion to surprise, then to shock, and finally to the silent tears that streamed down her face. You did this for me?" she whispered. "I did it for the truth. I did it for justice. I did it because I love you, and I couldn't let them continue destroying your life with lies." Letitia leaned against the wall of the hallway, holding the newspaper against her chest. Gabriel, it doesn't change anything. I'm still the doctor who couldn't save two children on the same night. I'm still the mother who didn't realize her own daughter was sick. No, said Gabriel firmly. You are the doctor who fought 6 hours to save a patient in impossible conditions. You are the mother who put the well-being of a strange child above her own safety. You are the woman who transformed her suffering into love for other children. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Gabriel held her hands. Dr. Henrique told me about Isabella, about what really happened that night. Letitia sobbed, her daughter's name being like a reopened wound. She was only 4 years old, curly hair, a smile like mine. She was waiting for her mommy to finish work so we could go home and eat popcorn and watch cartoons. And while you were fighting to save Maria Fernanda, Isabella developed symptoms of meningitis. No, I should have noticed. A mother should notice when her own daughter is sick. The words came out interspersed with sobs. If I had stopped attending to Maria Fernanda an hour earlier, I could have saved Isabella. Gabriel pulled her into his arms, feeling her tremble. And if you had stopped attending to Maria Fernanda, 2 children would have died instead of 1. You did the only thing you could do in those circumstances. It wasn't enough. It was heroic. They remained embraced in the clinic hallway, surrounded by the sounds of life continuing around them. Children crying, mothers talking, life insisting on moving forward despite the pain. "Is Sophia okay?" asked Letitia finally. "No. She cries every night asking when you're coming back. She stops eating when she remembers you. She draws butterflies on all the papers and says they're messages for Aunt Letty." Letitia closed her eyes, the pain being almost physical. "Gabriel, even with the truth revealed, I can't go back. I can't pretend that I'm capable of taking care of Sophia when I couldn't take care of my own daughter. What if I told you that I need you? As much as I need her, you'll find someone better, someone without so many scars." Gabriel held her face in his hands, forcing her to look him in the eyes. "I don't want someone without scars. I want you. I want the woman who loves with so much intensity that she still feels pain from a loss 3 years ago. I want the doctor who gave up her career because she cared too much about every patient. I want the nanny who taught my daughter to smile again. Gabriel, marry me." The words came out like a desperate plea, echoing through the clinic hallway. 2 nurses stopped walking to look. Some mothers in the waiting room craned their necks, but Gabriel only saw Letitia. "Marry me," he repeated, kneeling on the clinic floor. "Be the mother that Sophia needs. Be the wife that I need. Be part of our family, not despite your scars, but because of them. Because of the capacity to love that they represent." Letitia looked at him incredulously, tears streaming freely. "You're proposing to me in the hallway of a pediatric clinic? I'm proposing to you in the place where you chose to rebuild your life taking care of children, in the place that shows exactly who you are." Gabriel smiled through his own tears. "Isabella Santos, Leticia Santos, or whatever name you choose to use, I love you, and Sophia loves you, and we want you to come home." An eternal silence stretched through the hallway. Then Letitia knelt on the floor beside him, holding his face. "Are you sure you want a woman with so much past?" "I'm sure I want a woman with so much love to give." "And what if I can't be a good mother to Sophia?" "You already are, since the first day." Letitia kissed him then, on the floor of that humble clinic, surrounded by people who applauded spontaneously when she whispered yes between the kisses. 3 months later, in the library of the Bennett mansion, Gabriel and Letitia were married in an intimate ceremony. Sophia was the flower girl, wearing a light blue dress that Letitia had sewn by hand, carrying flower petals that they had planted together in the garden. Martha was present, having publicly redeemed herself and built a new relationship based on respect with Letitia. Dr. Henrique was the best man, and the only other presences were Mrs. Davison, some long-time employees of the house, and a handful of children from the Hope Clinic, where Letitia had decided to continue working twice a week. When the judge pronounced them husband and wife, Sophia shouted, "Now Aunt Letty is my real mom," and threw herself into their arms, creating a family hug that lasted several minutes. That night, after Sophia fell asleep between them in the couple's bed, a tradition that had started on Letitia's first day back, Gabriel held his wife's hand in the dark. "Do you have any regrets?" he asked. "Only one," Letitia replied. "I wish Isabella could see how I found a family that loves me despite everything." "Who said she can't see?" Gabriel pointed to the window, where the full moon illuminated the garden. "Maybe she's watching now, happy because her mommy finally forgave herself and allowed herself to be loved." Sophia stirred between them, murmuring, in her sleep, "Aunt Letty, you're going to stay forever now." Letitia kissed the girl's forehead and whispered, "Forever, my love, forever." And for the first time in 3 years, Letitia Santos Bennett fell asleep without nightmares, embraced by the two people who taught her that true love not only forgives the past, it transforms it into strength to build a better future. Love had won, not despite the scars that everyone carried, but because of the healing capacity they discovered when they decided to share them.